Leaving nothing to chance, police intensify patrol in Mombasa amid rising tension.
Sasa mimi naye nikaenda kuoga, ndio kurudi napata mtoto amechukuliwa.
Dashed expectations. Are Kisumu midwives aiding newborns' disappearance?
Authorities will also take into consideration the rising cost of living and that people are really struggling to survive.
100% higher. We'll tell you why Nairobi motorists are bitter with their governor.
I've applied so many places, but in most cases there's no response.
There is an increasing trend of graduates leaving university and not finding appropriate employment.
Fresh from college, the harsh reality facing new job seekers.
This is KTN Prime with Nancy Kachungira and Ben Kitili.
Hello and welcome to KTN Prime. We're glad you could join us this evening.
Good evening and welcome to KTN Prime. We are coming to you live from the Standard Group Center here in Nairobi. Now, fears over the emergence of a baby smuggling ring have arisen in Kisumu after a woman who delivered a healthy baby boy lost him to a woman masquerading as a friend in a government hospital.
Now, Evelyn Akinyi saw all her hopes and dreams fade away as the newborn that she had prepared for was stolen from her only a few hours after he came into the world. Here's KTN's Fred Omulo bringing us the agony of a motherhood spurned at its flowering best.
For Evelyn Akinyi, life couldn't have been more cruel. 9 months of loving preparation, the kind of preparation that only a mother and her immediate family knows, were turned to anguish after her son was stolen. The regular prenatal visits to Kombewa District Hospital in Seme, coupled with an enthusiasm that led her to even buy clothes for her unborn baby, all came to naught.
Venye nilipelekwa hapo maji kapasuka. Wakanitoa hapo tena wakanirudisha kwa leba. Sasa hapo niliumwa kufikia saa 4 ndio nikazaa. Hawakunifanyia kitu yoyote, hata kuongeza njia hawakuongeza, nilizaa tu vizuri.
On the fateful day, a woman who had identified herself to security as a friend came to the ward, ostensibly to keep her company after the delivery. But once the woman was inside, she pretended to be a visitor looking for someone else. The thief lingered in the maternity ward for a few hours, waiting for Evelyn to drop her guard. And then it happened.
Na huyu msichana naye alikuwa amekaa tu hapo. Sikufikiria eti nimwambie sijui kwa nini umekaa hapa, unataka nini? Sikufikiria kwa vile nilikuwa naona mwenzangu na anketi hapo. Sasa mimi naye nikaenda kuoga, ndio kurudi napata mtoto amechukuliwa. Sasa nilishindwa nitamuuliza nani.
At first, Evelyn thought the nurses knew the stranger and may have known her whereabouts. It turned out they had just arrived for the evening shift and didn't think much of the suspicious woman.
Toto ilikuwa kijana, niliona tu yani kwa dakika kidogo niliona tu angalia vile amesaliwa ako vipi. Ni kama njama, inaonekana kama alipigiwa simu na watu wa ndani hapo kuna mtoto hapo ndani, kwa sababu vile huyo alisaliwa ndio ameingia immediately.
The only clue the mysterious woman left behind were documents that clearly belonged to another mother with the name Damaris Achieng Guya scribbled across the top. They include a prenatal care card, ultrasounds and medical checkup forms. The hospital's management admits their thin staff was busy handling more serious cases, leading to a lapse that the thief exploited.
Ideally, when you're discharged, the nurse is the one who's going to discharge you. So you go to the nurse's desk, you get the birth notification. Unfortunately, 2 nurses, and if they have to give medication, so at times there might be a lapse there where there's no one at the desk.
After all is said and done, nothing will fill the gap that gapes from Evelyn and Lucas' heart. The joy of a successful delivery remains unrequited, a loss that couldn't have come at a worse time. From Kisumu County, I am Fred Omulo.
Now, it's a well-known fact that the country has been grappling with the problem of unemployment for years.
With thousands of graduates yet to find formal employment, scholars are now pushing for a shift in the largely held concept of what exactly constitutes a job.
Rita Tinina now reports on the preliminary findings of a study of employability and the struggle of one graduate of criminal justice.
Funding for universities, etc.
At a Nairobi hotel, academicians gather to deliberate on one of the biggest challenges facing the youth on the continent, unemployment. And here, preliminary findings of a 3-year study commissioned by the British Council on universities and employability were already shaping the day's discussion.
There is an increasing trend of graduates leaving university and not finding appropriate employment. There is a trend of employers being dissatisfied with the attributes and skills of the graduates leaving universities.
An all too familiar story for 25-year-old Oliver Rotich, a graduate in criminology and criminal justice from the Masinde Muliro University.
When I was taking criminology, I was hoping to be a prosecutor.
But since completing his studies a year ago, that has remained a dream for Rotich, who has made dozens of applications in search of a job.
In most cases, there is no response. We have a time where I got a response, but when I went there, they say they cannot link the course with the job that I was applying for.
The country has witnessed an increase in public universities from 7 in the year 2003 to 31 last year. And with 50,000 graduates leaving university every year, many have been searching for jobs for years. And Rotich is lucky it's only been a year. But with Rotich being part of an ever-increasing statistic, some argue it may be time to think outside the box.
If you have skills and you get out there, you become a good innovator, entrepreneur, and you really perform and get a living. That's what employment is. But our thinking about employment is waking up in the morning, going to an office.
With more graduates than the job market can handle, researchers are still trying to figure out the missing link in the unemployment puzzle.
Who is responsible for investing in skills? Is it the employers or the universities?
It is every parent's dream for their children to go to school, get an education and find a good job. But with the jobs becoming more and more elusive, many young people may be forced to find an alternative formula for success. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Now, accusations and counter-accusations characterize the status conference at the International Criminal Court, deliberating dicey issues in the case against President Uhuru Kenyatta. The prosecution put up a spirited fight, justifying why the case should still go on, despite President Uhuru's lawyers' insistence that the evidence against their client is false and scanty. KTN's Edith Kimani followed the proceedings and has more.
That the international obligation.
The 3 judges in the status conference wasted no time getting to the meaty issues in the case against President Uhuru Kenyatta. First on the agenda was prosecution's allegations that the Kenyan government was being obstructive, especially in the submission of evidence.
There has been a lack of cooperation, and it would not be right, as Mr. Gaynor has said, for this case to fail and for the prosecution to be forced to withdraw the case, as we may be in due course, if the evidence does not emerge, in the light of the fact of the sustained and deliberate obstructionism of the government of Kenya.
Prosecution was, however, at odds to say how the evidence, if it were to be provided by the Kenyan government, would affect the case.
The financial information about the movement of the funds, do you think it's enough to sustain your charges even without witnesses 11 and 12?
It's a very hard question to answer. Your Honour is asking me to speculate about the content and nature of material which I don't know because we've been prevented from seeing it.
Stephen Kay, however, downplayed the severity of the Kenyan government's compliance to the case, arguing that the timing of the non-compliance allegations by the prosecution team was dubious.
In the 2 years since 2012, the prosecution never came here for a ruling upon the matter. It just continued a series of letter battles with the government of Kenya.
Kay and his team have made it clear that they want the proceedings terminated on account of what they say is false and thin evidence from prosecution.
What does he, the husband, what does he want?
In a 45-minute session, Fergal Gaynor, who is representing the victims in the case, however, asked the court to remember the victims who, in his view, would be denied justice if the case was thrown out.
If your honours do not do justice in this case for the victims, nobody will. Justice ultimately is truth. It is the whole truth in all its measure.
About the appropriate.
Presiding Judge Kuniko Ozaki, after receiving submissions from all sides, adjourned the conference to Wednesday. The ruling the bench makes on the requests made by prosecution and defense will determine if President Uhuru Kenyatta's trial, which has already been postponed twice, will continue or be terminated. Edith Kimani, KTN.
Away from The Hague, Nairobi County today implemented its new parking fee charges that will see car owners part with up to 9,000 Kenya shillings each month in parking fees. While Nairobi County government looks at this as a decongestion strategy, residents are questioning the reason behind the hiked parking fees. KTN's Joy Doreen Bira reports.
Wednesday morning in Nairobi Central Business District, motorists are slapped with 300 shillings parking fee tickets, the ticket vendors implementing what the new law requires. Joshua Odhiambo is one shocked motorist.
Na nimeshangaa kabisa, tumechajua twice kwa parking na services hatuoni. Sikuwa najua nimepatiana 500 nikarudishiwa 200. Mimi nafuata mtu wa parking ananiambia ni 300 parking.
The new parking fees follow a failed appeal by matatu operators to block the fee hike in the courts of law. So what is the 300 shillings fee per day meant to cater for?
Areas which have a point of vandalism, the spotlights where we believe that there are quite a number of those kind of vandalism, will be able to be addressing those issues from there and strategically allocate some of those officers on those areas and deal with those menaces so that we can actually talk about issue of security of the motorist vehicles is guaranteed.
On average, over 20,000 vehicles drive into the capital, Nairobi. Now, with the new parking fees at 300, this means that the Nairobi County government will be able to collect over 180 million Kenya shillings. But will this reflect in service delivery? And the other question that people are asking could be the fact that in the neighboring towns that are growing fast, the Nairobi County as well is going to be charging 300 shillings. But is it worth it?
I don't understand why I should come in town for an hour and pay 300 shillings. I think the parking fees are quite exaggerated. They should reconsider their move on increasing the parking fee and probably give us a reasonable rate for people who come into town and leave.
To me, it was 150. If they had said 200, I think it would have been better. Just a slight addition. But to say 100% increase, I think it's a bit on the higher side.
Nairobi County argues that congestion in the CBD will be a thing of the past with the new parking fees.
Because once we are talking about the CCTVs being installed, the traffic marshals being put in place, we are talking about now we want to bring everything. All those issues that the community we have been hearing about, the vandalism, side the millers, parking lights are being installed by the, called the parking boys, will be a thing of the past.
As Nairobians get acquainted with the new charges, works are also in progress to have public service vehicles stay out of the Central Business District in the next 90 days, which is likely to see transport fares hiked even higher. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN Prime.
That is one story, Nancy, that I'm sure will elicit a lot of debate among Kenyans.
That's right. If you're planning to drive into Nairobi tomorrow, you may have to carry a little extra cash. The parking fees have gone up from 140 shillings to 300. It's more than double.
Yeah, it's more than double. And that is the basis of a big question tonight. We are asking you, is the Nairobi County government justified to adjust parking fees by over 100%?
That's right. Get in touch with us. Let us know what you think, and you can do so by tweeting us. My handle is @Kachingira. You can also tweet Ben. His handle is @Ben_Kitili. Also tweet @KTN Kenya or SMS us on 22155. And of course, we'll take a look at the poll results at the end of our bulletin tonight.
Talking about money, the National Assembly has encountered yet another stumbling block in its quest to be allowed to determine salaries and allowances of members of Parliament.
Now, the High Court has ruled that Parliament does not have powers to nullify the legal gazette notice that was filed by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission that did set the pay perks for all the members of Parliament.
High Court Judge Mumbengogi added that the court had jurisdiction to hear any case filed against the National Assembly if it contravened the Constitution.
Activist Okia Omtata had moved to court to block legislators from determining their own salaries, allowances and other benefits.
The pension scheme for former legislators was, however, spared as the High Court ruled that the Pension Act as well as the Appropriation Act were in place properly.
Now, the debate over the MP's pay perks did go on for the better part of 2013 as Parliament sought to reject the Salaries Commission pay package.
Latest news there for members of Parliament, they will not be left to their own devices. Now, the CFC Stanbic Bank has sponsored the agriculture category in the Transform Kenya Awards 2013 to the tune of 2.5 million Kenya shillings.
Now, it's founded by the Standard Media Group and Deloitte Kenya. The awards are aimed at recognizing and rewarding individuals, businesses and institutions committed to elevating the quality of life for Kenyans and focusing mainly on those who've looked beyond profit maximization.
The check was received by Standard Group CEO Sam Shole, who emphasized the importance of rewarding those who are transforming Kenya's economy by involving the community.
The CFC Stanbic Bank Chief Executive Officer Greg Brackenridge noted that the bank is the biggest lender in the agricultural sector, stating that it also plays an important role in Kenya's economy.
Forward and backward linkages into suppliers, traders and so on are very strong. So if Kenya is to succeed in its Vision 2030 ambitions and to close the gap on the other countries, as Sam has mentioned, and I have every confidence that we will, there's no doubt that agriculture will play a significant role and that the whole process of transformation.
We thought a Standard Group is 112 years old, that we could participate in a small way in recognizing individuals and institutions around the country that are involved in transforming lives, that are carrying out projects in big ways, in small ways, sustainable projects that by their very nature will transform the lives of the communities where they live in.
A quick reminder of our big Q tonight. We're asking you whether you believe that the Nairobi County government is actually justified in raising parking fees by over 100%.
That's right, you will be paying 300 shillings per day. That is up to 9,000 shillings per month. Let us know what you think. SMS your yes or no opinion to the number 22155. You can tweet us as well at Ben_Kitili.